ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थेषु भिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्म हृदयादिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य खलः प्रसीदतां ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया। मनश्च भद्रं भजता ददोक्षजे आवेश्यतां नो मतिरप्यहेतुकी। So we are studying from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th Canto, chapter number 9, beginning from text number 10. It's the story of great king Bharat, who died and became a deer and then he died again, and now he is born as son of a Brahman. But it's said that there are three types of people. There are people who learn from others' experience. There are some people who learn from their own experience. And there is a third quality who never learn. So Bharat learned from his own experience. And therefore, in this life, he did not want to again get entangled in anything and just devote himself fully to God. So for that reason he was behaving as deaf, dumb, dull-head and unconcerned because he was fully absorbed inside. So his father tried to teach him, but he behaved improperly and did not learn anything because he had no interest in that. And it is said that you can wake up somebody who is sleeping, but one who is acting to sleep, you cannot wake up that person. So even if he was actually dull, maybe something he would have learned, but he was acting as dull. Therefore it was impossible to teach him anything. So his father died, and then mother, she committed sati along with the dead body of the husband, and then he was left at the mercy of his brothers. So brothers did not care much about him. They thought anyway, father tried, he didn't learn, and he was also not following any rules and regulations. Probably he will enter their house and they will just not like it. But in Vedic culture, as I was explaining yesterday, there are many rules about cleanliness, which is called ritual purity. There is external purification, you take shower, clean cloth. But besides that, there are certain rules which may seem like what is the impurity in it. But that has something to do with the rituals, and because these people were following rituals, path of Kanda, so they must be observing all those rules. And Bharat, as we will read, he was not even taking shower. So naturally, and as we said that he will not clean his hands after he was doing all kinds of dirty things. So none of these brothers would like him to sit next to him or allow him inside the house. So naturally, he was just wandering here and there, trying to fulfill his stomach and live. So he says that Shitoshna Vata Varshesu Vrishaiva Anavrit Anga. He says that in cold, in hot weather, windy, rainy, he will wander without any cloth, like a bull. It's like bulls wander sometimes. Here you see the cows now. Previously cows were not wandering in the streets in India, but there was a custom of leaving bulls. The bulls will be offered to Lord Shiva and then put a mark on it. And then that bull can go anywhere and eat in anybody's field, nobody will stop him. They will offer, because previously bulls were used for farming, so they were useful. Now anybody can leave their bull because they are useless. But previously leaving bulls like that was considered as a religious thing, because it was an asset and you are just offering it. So these bulls, they will wander. And he was compared like this, Pina Sangananangas, Standila Samveshana, and he was quite stout, no worries, so he was happy, and he was also having a very beautiful body, and he will just lie down anywhere, in a cot, just lie on the ground. Samveshana, Ananumardana, Amajjana Rajasa, and he was not taking care of his body, not very clean, sometimes bathing, sometimes not, covered with dust. Mahamanir Iva Anabhivyakta Brahma Varchasa. So he was like a diamond which was covered with dust. He had the high realization, but externally he looked dumb. Kupata Vrita Katirupavitena Puramashina. And he had just covered his middle part with some dirty cloth. And so he was covering it a bit like a coping. And he had that Brahman thread which his father gave, that was also very dirty. He is never cleaning it. So Uru Mashina, completely black. Mashina is black. Dvijatiriti Brahma Bandhuriti Sange Atas Jnanam Amato Vichachara. So some people will say that he is a Brahmana boy, and others will call that what kind of a Brahmana he is. He is Brahma Bandhu. So they will criticize him. But he did not care about any of these things. He just wandered freely. And commentary says, Apavritanga Anavritanga. His body was not covered because who will give him cloth to wear? There is one sadhu, I don't know if you have seen him. What is his name? You know?
I know who you're talking about. He's not the one called it?
Yeah.
He's naked all the time.
Yeah. He's naked.
Well, he's crazy, he's not the sadhu.
Yeah. I mean, whatever, but at least. I've been seeing him for the last 20 years. He's on the road, completely naked. I don't know how he survives in the cold and rain and heat. He's there, he doesn't move. He's lying on the side of the road. When this road was built, then he will move from this side to that side, this side to that side. And he's just on that spot, and sometimes he's sitting and blabbering something. But some people think that he's elevated. They come and touch his feet and they give him something to eat. And whatever he gets, he eats. I don't know, mosquitoes, flies, nothing seems to bother him, snakes. It's amazing.
Nobody can stay in
And I don't know whether he takes bath or anything.
No, he doesn't.
No.
It's only when it rains.
Yeah, probably he gets washed by the rain.
Also, a crazy person cannot live
I don't know. I mean, there is some craziness definitely in it.
Yeah. So how is that?
So, what I'm saying is that it is possible to live like that also. Because we have a living example. So he also wandered like that. Anavritanga, not covered, Sannanamanga, and he has a very strong body. This guy is not so strong, but he's also not so weak. Standala Samveshnam, Bhumishanam, and he will just lie down on the earth. No bed, nothing, no pillow. Ananumardhanam, Abhyangadi Abhava, not cleaning himself. Amajjanam, Snana Bhava, no bathing. Tairiyad Rajastena Abhivyaktam, Anabhivyaktam Bhava. So therefore he was covered with dirt, and thus he was just like a gem covered with mud. Guru Mashnati Malini, even his Yajnapavid was dirty. So basically this giving the meaning of the words. Yadatu parta aharam karma vetanata ihyamana svabhratridhirapi kedar karmani nirupitas tadapi karoti kintu na samam vishamam nunam adhikam iti veda kanapinyaga kafalikarana kulmasa sthali purishadini api amritvan abhyavarti. So he has to eat. So sometimes he will do some work to other people and they will give him food. So his brothers thought that this guy is even bringing bad name to us, because people obviously will say, what kind of people you are, you cannot give food even to your brother who wanders here and there and works as a servant, and Brahmana does not perform any labor work. So they thought that since he is doing work outside, why not we engage him in our own fields and give him some food. So they told him that you see, we have this land here, and this is not flat, it is somewhere high, somewhere low. You take this shovel and level it up, and you get food. So he went, but he didn't want to do it properly. So where it was low, he made it more low. And where it was high, he made it more high. Because this was his characteristic. He had to do something that nobody will bother him. He didn't want. He thought if I do it nicely, then I am caught here. So he didn't do it properly. Tadapi na karoti. So na samam vismam nyunam adhikam. So, and whatever food they gave him, leftover, burnt, the most useless food they gave him, he will eat it like nectar happily. He won't complain that why this is burnt, this is rot, nothing. Whatever they gave him, he finished it. And not only finished it, but happily. Amrit vadadhyavati, like as if he's drinking some nectar. So he was happily enjoying. कर्म वेतनतः कर्म मूल्येन आहारम इयमानो यदा भवति तदा स्वयं भातृभिरिति सर्वं दिनं कर्म कारित्वा आहारमात्रं चेदन्ये वदति तर्हि वयमेव तथा कार्यं. So he will work for others and they will give him food. So the brothers thought that he is just working for food, why not he work for us? He can give him food. And apratishta cha nastavati na bhavishyati matva, and then people will not even criticize us. Now we are even getting criticism. So we will have double advantage that we will not get the criticism and we will get work done free. So they told him, Kardam vilodnadi karmani yatra kardamasya prakshepe kshetram samam bhaveti iti uddharane vishnu bhavet iti naved. But he did not know what is to be done. And Pindyakam talyantro bhutam tilakittam phalikanam tushakulmasa kitavidhamasa. So whatever useless food they gave, like Pindyak, this khal which is given to the cow, after you take out the oil from the sesame seed and what is remaining, they were even giving this to him, which is given to the animals. So he will eat that also, like a nice cake. It also has some taste in it. And once you start eating it, you actually develop a taste for it. And if animals eat it, and after all they say that the proteins are there in the covering. Right? So he was eating all the proteins. So sometimes they will give him some sprouted beans eaten up by worms, or some food which was burnt, then scratch it from the bottom and give. So he ate that. So this continued for some time. But now his life change came. Everything keeps on changing in life, nothing is permanent. So suddenly there was a twist in his life. And the twist came as follows. At kadachit kasyut vrishalapati bhadrakali purusha pashum alabhatam apatyakam. So there was some gang of robbers living in the forest area, and they were the chief of these thieves and robbers. So this chief, he did not have a son, and it is very important to have son in Vedic culture because they are the one who perform your Shraddha ceremony. This time just went last week, 2 weeks. All over India they celebrated Shraddha, where you make offering to the forefathers who have departed. So he wanted sun, and he wanted to offer a human being to Bhadrakali, one form of Kali, and sacrifice a human being, and this will give him the sun. So there are many people who worship these terrible forms of goddesses. Samsila Bhagantivai. It is described that people worship according to their own nature. Those who are tamasic, rajasic people, they also worship the deities which are tamasic and rajasic. That's why there are various types of deities in India. And sattvic people, they worship Krishna. So he was worshipping Bhadrakali. Bhadrakali will give him sun if he offers. Somebody told him like that. So he decided to offer. So he caught one man. Kidnapped him from somewhere and brought him. But this man somehow got released. Babaji tied him at night and they went to sleep. So tasya deva muktasya pashoho padvim tadanuchara paridhanto nishi nishita samye tamsa avritayam anadhigat pashava akasmikena vidhina kedaram virasanena mrigavarahadibhya samrakshmana angya pravarshitama pasya. So his servants, when they realized that this guy has run away, they were scared that now the master will punish them. So he ran away at night, so that they thought that at night we better find a replacement. Otherwise in the morning we'll get hell from the boss. So this man, he ran and they were running behind him, but then he disappeared. So around midnight they found that this Bharat, he was sitting guarding the fields from the animals. Because at night the pigs come and eat the crop, the deers also come. So he was guarding there, sitting alone. So they said, well, why not catch this fellow and take him? So Devat Bandhu Vimuktasya Palaitasya Purushpasho Virasnini Yudhva Avasthanana. So that guy somehow ran away and they caught him. So Atte Enam Anavadya Lakshanam Avimrishya Bhartri Karma Nispatti Manyamana Badhva Rashnaya Chandika Grihim Upunyur Vida Vikashita Vadana. So they got him. And also if you have to offer somebody, then the person must have proper limbs. You cannot make an offering if somebody has some missing limb or extra limb or one-eyed, crooked teeth. These type of people are not offered. So he must look proper. So they saw him in the light and he was quite good. So they were very happy. So they brought him to the temple of the Chandi and they put him there. And he had no problem. They told him to come. He says, don't worry, I won't travel and walk before you. In a story I read about a Greek philosopher Dionysus. So Dionysus also used to wander like Bharat in the forest naked. He was also very beautiful. And in those days there was a custom of slavery. So some people there saw him wandering in the forest alone, uncared. They thought, why not catch him and sell him? It's like people these days steal cows and sell. So some people, they caught him and they told him that we are going to sell you. So he said, oh, that's very good. So he says, "No, you don't have to bind me, I will walk." And he started walking even faster than. He says, "Why are you walking so fast?" He says, "I want to see how you sell me." So they brought him to the market where the slaves were sold, and there was a custom of bidding, that the slave will be made to stand in the center, and then people who want to buy, they will bid. So this guy stood up and he started selling himself. He says, "Here I am, who wants to pay 50 for me? Who wants to pay?" And then somebody says, he said, "Okay, who will pay 55? He was bidding himself. It's a very interesting story about him. And then somebody bought him, and he actually behaved very nicely with him. And he did everything. So much that the master actually became his servant later on. He says, "You really taught me how to behave." And he never complained. So Bharat was also like that. He was the Indian Dionys. That he walked with them and he was quite happy that they are taking me somewhere, I am free from this. He had no problem. He said, "There is no need of time, I am not going anywhere." So they brought him, and then of course when somebody has to be offered, then he has to be given bath, clean, nice cloth, good food. So this was a festival for Bharat. He was very happy. At paniyastam swavidhina abhi shichya ahatena vasasa achadya bhushana lepa svakatilakadibhir upaskritam bhuktavantam dhoopa deepa malya laja kishlaya Ankura Phalopaharopetaya Veshasanstaya Mahata Gita Stuti Mridanga Panag Bhoshena Purush Pasham Bhadrakalyam Purta Kirishana. So I had gone to once Assam and there is this temple of Devi, and there they offer goats. And the first time in my life I saw a goat being cut. So, but before that there is a pond, they give him bath, they put tilak, and then they take him and slaughter right there. Kamaksha, famous temple. So this practice was there in some people. So this Purohit, the priests, they, with the chanting of the mantras, everything, they gave him bath, cleaned him up, gave him fresh cloth to wear. Maybe after who knows how many years he was getting nice cloth to wear. And then he was actually given some ornaments, chandan, garland, beautiful. They put tilak on him and he was decorated nicely. And then he was given nice food to eat. So he was very happy. So, why these people didn't come before? I'm working in the field and getting this rotten food. Here I don't have to do anything. And then they did arti to him with fragrance, agarbatti, dhoop, deep, malya, laja, throwing this puffed rice, and kishlaya, flowers, fruits, all this. And then they brought him to the place where he has to be slaughtered. So Vaishya Mahata Gita Stupita. And when they are bringing, then they are singing and music. So he is also dancing with them. Happily. So Gita Stuti Mridanga Pranava Bhoshana, playing Mridanga and Pranava. Purush Pasum Bhadrakalya Purta Upaveshana. So they brought him and made him to sit down in front of the deity. He had to sit down. So he is happy. So Panayascharanam Prohita Hatena. Now the chief priest, he came with a sword. Atha Vishala Rajapanihi Purusha Pashor Ashrig Asavena Devim Bhadrakalim Yakshamana Tadabhimantrita Mashis Mati Karala Nishatam Upadana. So now the chief priest, he came with a very sharp, terrible looking sword, which was Abhimantrit, means there were mantra chanted on this sword. Gradhikarni Virupakshi Lambastani Mahodari Hanasaptrum Mitushorane Kuldasya Kulashoman. All these Hampatsaha. So these mantras were chanted, and then he was ready to chop off his head. It's like you take a potato and cut it into 2 pieces. So when he was about to do that, then something interesting happened. Because this Bhadrakali is a tamasic deity, Bharat Maharaj is a great devotee. She could not tolerate the effulgence of Bharat. Therefore the deity broke and Bhadrakali came out of that. And she took that sword and killed all these people. So this is being described. Iti tesham vrishalanam rajastamah prakritinam dhanamada raja utsikta manasam bhagavat kalavira kulam kadarthi kritya utpathena swaram viharatam himsa viharanam karmati darunam yad brahma bhutasya sakshad brahma rishi sutasya nirvairasya sarva bhuta sruhida sunayam api anumat alambanam taduplabhya brahma tejasa ati guru vishahina dandhayamanena vapusha sahasa uchachata saiva devi bhadrakali. So he's saying that all these thieves and rogues and robbers, they were all of low nature, rajasic and tamasic, very passionate and ignorant people. And they were intoxicated by wealth. So they were looting and they had wealth. And therefore they did not know what is proper worship, what is proper principle. And they were disregarding the scriptural injunctions. What is that? That Bharat Maharaj, who is a great devotee, he is a Brahmana. So a Vaishnava, a Brahmana, is not supposed to be killed even in an emergency. And they were bringing him to kill for some stupid thing because he wants a son. So this was the most terrible activity which they were going to do, very sinful activity. That this Bharat was Brahma Bhuta, he was a realized person. And Sakshat Brahma Rishi Sutasya, he was also son of a great Brahman. And he was nirvaira, he was not envious of anybody. Bharat Maharaj was not considering anybody as his enemy. He was not finding fault in anybody. He was peaceful, he was well behaved, control of mind and senses. And he was friend of everybody. Sarva Bhuta Suheda. He was willing to help anyone. So it was most inappropriate to kill him. Such killing is just not approved. For any, even for some very important reason, you cannot kill such a person. This is most offensive to do such a thing. So therefore the deity Bhadrakali, she could not stand this, that such a thing is being done to a great devotee. And therefore she came out. The deity actually broke into the pieces and Bhadrakali appeared there. Sayudevi Sahaso Chachata Sayudevi Bhadrakali. Because she was unable to tolerate the effulgence of Bharat Maharaj sitting there. So Sri Vishnu says that Bhagavataha Kalanam Avtaranam Veera Senanyo Ye Bhakta. He is called here as Bhagavat Kala Veer. Veer means a hero and Bhagavat Kala means avatar. So he is a hero, means a great devotee. And disregarding him, Kulam Kadarthi Kritya Dukhyatva Swaram Vihartam. And now they want to sacrifice him, disregarding his high state. Yat karma tad uplabhya Devi uchachata. So when Devi saw this, she came out, Pratiman Bhitva, breaking the deity, Bahirnijagam. Yadva Saiva Pratma Rupa Devi eva uchachata bharakte sachimana. So there are two meanings he is giving. One is that when Devi saw, then she came out. Other is that Bharat Maharaj was so powerful that his power itself broke the deity into pieces. He didn't have to do anything. And then she came out. Natu tadiyanam bhartas chinno babhuva. Tadiyasinam bhartas chinno babhuva iti evakaravata. Therefore, this happened before he killed Bharat Maharaj. So Bharat was saved. Sunayam apatkale swarakshartham anugyatayam api himsayam ananugyatam sarvatha eva nisiddham avam. So he says that it is forbidden to kill a Brahmana, such a person, even to protect oneself. Therefore, this type of violence, killing, is completely forbidden, not allowed. Nisiddham alammanamiti. So that is the principle he is explaining. Indirectly, it is also being said here that such human sacrifice is not prescribed. It is improper to do that. So then what she did, that is even more dangerous. She got very angry. And now she will cut everybody like potatoes and drink their blood. So Brisha Amarsa Rosha Vesha Navhasa Vilasita Bhrukati Vitapa Kutila Danshta Arune Jha Arune Kshana Atopa Ati Bhayanaka Vadana. So she was very angry in their behavior and very disturbed, and her eyebrows were bent and she was making sound and moving her teeth. Daran, Arunekshana, eyes were red and she looked very terrible from her face. She was in that mood. Sometimes you see this painting, she has this chopper in the hand and holding the head on the other one, and tongue is out. So that's how she was. So Tene Vashina Virkuna Srishna Galata Shravantam Ashriga Ashramam Ati Ushnam Sahaganena Nipiyatam. So with the same sword with which they were trying to kill Bharat Maharaj, she cut the head of these people, and then she was drinking the hot blood flowing from their body along with her associates, her associates also came. They were all feasting on the blood. Nipiya atipana mad vivalo chestara swaparshadai sahe jago nanartha cha vijaha. And then she was dancing and singing. Sirakanduka Leelaya, and she was making football out of their heads, kicking them. So this is what her outcome came out. Amarsho aparadha sahanam. She was angry because she was unable to tolerate the offense they were committing to Bharat. Tadhetukah kopascha tayor avishasya yorabsha. Because of that, she was very furious and angry. And jagad api tasya ekasya jagad bhutino pradhi. Evameva khalu mahadamicharati krama katsena atmane phalati. So now the outcome of this, the teaching of this story is that if anyone performs an offensive act to great people like this, then it comes back on them. Because in Tantra there are many processes like this. You can create trouble for others. So that ultimately falls back on your own head. That is the teaching being given here. Nava etad Vishnu datta mahadadbhuta pada asambhrame swarashchedana apatite api vimukta dehadi atma bhava sudrid hridaya granthi nam sarva sattva suhridatmanam nirvairanam sakshat bhagavat nimisha hare iva ayudhena pramattena taistair bhave parirakshmana nam tatpada mulak akutaschidbhyaya pastanam bhagavatam palahasana. Then it says, Parikshit, this is not very surprising that those people who have given up attachment to body, their knot of the heart is broken, who are friend of everybody, they don't hate anyone, that such person are protected by the Lord Himself, even in the form of Bhadrakali. And because they have taken shelter of the feet of the Lord, so even when it is time for their head to be chopped off, they are not disturbed. Because Bharat was actually sitting there and he saw that this guy had a sword in his hand and he was just looking at him. He was not saying, "What are you doing?" Because he was completely fixed, his mind was fixed on the Lord, and I thought, if this is how my end is coming, I accept it. So this is the end of 9th chapter. It is Srimad Bhagavatam Bhaparana Paramahansa Sampradayam Pancham Skandha Jadabhakti Charita. So now in the 10th chapter there will be further interesting story about him, how he will from there escape and wander on the earth, and then he will again get into a little bit of trouble with a king. But there he will teach him a lesson. Finally he speaks. So if there is any question on this?
I think about this, the fact that these ignorant people, up to that point, they could not recognize him, and but this Kali could see him. I mean, he could not see him, but she was she could not tolerate his effulgent body, the shining coming from his body.
Yes.
That, because before she was there and she was accepting this type of sacrifices, right?
Well, we don't know, there is no mentioned that
They don't
sequence.
mention. But these people, they were performing this type of sacrifice.
I'm saying there's no mention that they performed or not.
They were
It is only said that he wanted a son and therefore he wanted to do this.
he wanted to do it. Okay. I was thinking that this was a ritual. Okay.
It was not some regular ritual, it was a specific case. He wanted to do it so that he has a son.
Okay.